Mortal Kombat is not about death, but rather the preservation of life. Liu Kang and a few chosen fighters from the Earth realm defeated Outworld sorcerer Shang Tsung. According to the rules of Mortal Kombat, their victory preserved the safety of the Earth for one more generation, only to enjoy a brief period of peace. For someone from Outworld has a different point of view.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast, Mortal Kombat Retrospective Series.
It has begun!
Part of Now Playing's video game movie review series.
You win the tournament, you win their respect. They'll tell the entire world you're the real goods.
Hosted by Arnie.
I am the chosen one.
Justin.
Let Mortal Kombat begin!
And Stuart.
One of you three will decide the outcome of the tournament. The fate of billions will depend upon you.
A handful of people on a leaky boat are going to save the world.
Exactly.
This podcast may contain detailed plot spoilers, harsh language, and fatalities.
I was about to go for a stroll, but maybe I'll stick around, you fucking idiots!
Listener discretion is advised.
It's showtime.
Let Mortal Kombat begin!
It's not about death.
Today we're discussing Mortal Kombat II, starring Karl Urban, Adeline Rudolph, Jessica McNamee, Josh Lawson, Ludi Lin, Mikad Brooks, Toddy Gabrielle, Louis Tan, Damon Harriman, with Chin Han as Chang Tsung and Hiroyuki Sanada as Scorpion. Directed by Simon McQuoid. This is the Now Playing co-host who's a fan of bottomless breadsticks, tan lines, one-night stands, threesomes, foursomes, Jack and Coke, just Jack, just Coke, Arnie.
And Stuart.
Get over here. This is Justin.
I thought we would come back to Mortal Kombat, but after 5 years, I never thought they'd bring back that same crew that seemed to be covered in flop sweat 5 years ago when they dumped Mortal Kombat onto streaming in the mid of COVID. They're just like, here, watch this.
Hey, I went to IMAX and watched it. It was 2021. Theaters were reopened, and I did mask up. Felt like Sub-Zero with my mask on going into the theater.
You and 5 other people went to the theaters, and everyone else, if they watched it at all, saw it on HBO Max and went,
Here's the thing that I don't fully understand is that this film was made 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. In 2022, they greenlit the sequel. Now, the first movie didn't make a ton of money, but like you say, they were probably looking at the streaming numbers because Warner Brothers was putting all of their movies, even Godzilla and Kong and Wonder Woman 2, all of them were going to HBO Max as well as theaters. So while the first film made, I think, 80 global against a 50 million budget, if it streamed well, you know how some movies in the 80s and 90s, it did well on video. So let's do a sequel. They greenlit this in 2022. They filmed it in 2023 and then got interrupted because of the SAG-AFTRA thing. And I'm guessing Karl Urban is a busy man. He's in a ton. He's everywhere on TV and film. He and Pedro Pascal need to do a crossover because then the two most hardworking people in Hollywood would unite. But they got back together in November and finished filming this in January 2024, which makes a lot more sense for the timing of a sequel 3 years later than to release it 5 years later. They always were looking at October 2025 for the release, give plenty of time for post-production and special effects and all that, I guess. And they got scared. They were coming a week after Tron Ares and around the same time as Black Phone 2. And it's kind of funny to me. There were good movies released in October 2025, but Tron Ares was not the juggernaut that everybody thought it might be. And Black Phone is a niche horror film. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I really liked that film. That's not something Mortal Kombat has to be afraid of.
They'd kick you whether you had legs or not. I think what you're talking about is Mortal Kombat feels like it should be a tentpole franchise, but it's kind of puny when you think about other things that are out there. Where do you position this? It feels like putting it out right at the beginning of summer or in October, less competitive times, and it has a chance of doing better. Again, I would argue it really never had a chance to prove itself in theaters, given when it came out. And so, yeah, lack of confidence. I would be very unconfident in putting out a sequel to that movie I couldn't remember 5 years ago watching. In fact, I went back, I did 1995. I did Annihilation, folks.
You went too far back.
I was like, I can't remember this one at all, and there's a reason. God, that one is its own basement of hell. That is so terrible. This one wasn't as bad as I thought it might have been. I think I remember hating it. You know, when I listened to the review again, when I saw it again, it just sort of confirmed that, like, everyone that was in the role just felt like they were soap stars and wannabes and hadn't proven themselves, and it just felt like a wannabe franchise that didn't stick the landing.
Yeah, and with these almost 5 years in between the two movies, in my head it was like, oh, this must be a soft reboot. Like, I didn't even pay attention to what we talked about on the first one within the last couple weeks. So I go into this movie thinking, all right, it's just another Mortal Kombat. And I walk out going like, hey, all right, yeah, that was Mortal Kombat. And then I started doing some research. I'm like, wait, this character was in the last one? This character was in the last? I need to rewatch that last one and refresh myself. And I was like, I completely put that movie out of my brain. Like, seriously, there's things that happen in this movie that are really big to certain characters. And I'm like, oh, well, that would have hit a lot harder if I had been paying attention to the first movie.
I think that's it. You don't need to see the first one, but if you did, there's a lot of payout, right? There's a lot of things that come full circle in this one for characters nobody cared about last time.
Yeah, I think they're downplaying the first one. I mean, when you watch this movie, at the very beginning, the title comes up. It says Mortal Kombat. It does not say Mortal Kombat 2, so that you never at any point would feel like you missed something along the way. And sure enough, if you're here for Karl Urban fun, you don't need to see the first one. Everything's going to catch you up along the way. And a lot of very quick exposition to hand wave. Here's who these characters are. Here's their powers. But I remember going to New York Comic-Con last year, and there were two things I was excited for. The Running Man, and I went to that panel with Edgar Wright and Lee Pace and Glenn Powell. And then Karl Urban was there for Mortal Kombat 2. That was supposed to be the weekend the movie came out. So he was there promoting a movie, thinking it would be out for everyone to see that weekend. Nice guy. I did get his autograph. They announced at New York Comic-Con, Part 3 is already greenlit and being written.
Yeah, that's worth underlining. Even though it sounds like they have no confidence in this thing, to put it out here at the beginning of the summer movie season and to already be warming up for a sequel, I think that they knew they had a movie that could be a hit. They just wanted to make sure that audiences found it. They didn't want it to get dwarfed by anything else.
And I think they had a right to be confident, because one thing Karl Urban did say back then is the Red Band trailer for Mortal Kombat 2 smashed records on YouTube for Red Band trailers. 107 million people watched that trailer in the first day. So I think more people watched that trailer than saw that first movie. And so I think that's another reason why they thought they could make more money as a summer movie, just kind of get out of the way of Mario and time it for now.
I think the appetite for a good Mortal Kombat movie exists. I think it is a beloved video game that people want to see adapted, much like Mario. Yeah, I could see that. But they needed something. It's clear in the last movie they didn't have the chemistry. And so the question is Karl Urban the fix? They ended that last movie teasing that they would be bringing in Johnny Cage, but without showing who Johnny Cage would be. You guys talk a lot about Karl Urban. I was trying to tell somebody who he was. I'm like, he was Bones in the Star Trek. I think he was in the Lord of the Rings somewhere. Yeah, he works a lot, but I can't really name a defining role that makes you go, that guy.
Currently, it's The Boys. He's the star of the series The Boys.
Oh, okay. I keep meaning to watch that, and I know it's ending, so that's my cue to probably binge it soon.
Yeah, that's where I love him. I first paid attention to him with Star Trek when he played Bones. And what was funny is for the longest time, he was always that guy. And I'm like, oh, he was in this? He was in Lord of the Rings 2 and 3? He was in Bourne Supremacy? He was in 2 of the Riddick films? He was in Thor Ragnarok? And I just couldn't put it together. And I keep confusing him with Keith Urban.
Yes.
When Star Trek 2009 was coming out, I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. They got a country singer for Bones. So I finally, around the time of Thor Ragnarok and The Boys, got who he was together. And like, this guy's been in so much, kind of like Jeremy Renner for quite a while. Karl Urban will do your franchise.
But again, I would argue maybe The Boys is the exception. He really hasn't had the role that defined him. Yeah, he was Dredd, but how many people saw Dredd? I feel like he's waiting for his breakout. And to say he's the star of Mortal Kombat isn't totally bringing star power wattage to a franchise that could really need some juice, frankly.
I mean, I think what Arnie's saying is all these franchises he's been in is all fodder for Comic-Con type of guys, right? So that crowd is primed to know who Karl Urban is, and that's what this movie is for. So, hey, perfect casting, I'd say.
I mean, to equate him in Comic-Con fandom, his line was longer than Brendan Fraser's, longer than Sigourney Weaver's, but not as long as Charlie Cox's. Daredevil had the longest line at that Comic-Con. So that's kind of where he goes. And I'd say what gave me the most hope for Mortal Kombat 2 was Karl Urban in The Boys, where he's a foul-mouthed, sardonic superhero fighter who just has the attitude you want in a Johnny Cage. This is almost casting to type based upon his Billy the Butcher out of The Boys. You just want to take Billy the Butcher and put him in Mortal Kombat with a big belt buckle and sunglasses, and you have a movie I want.
So much to the point, Arnie, that almost a little disappointed they didn't do that. It becomes pretty obvious that he's playing a different character here.
I don't have a whole lot of association with him. I was not blown away with the movie. Even rewatching it, it just didn't feel like it was working. I wasn't convinced that he was going to be the fix. I was actually a little more encouraged. We got the same director, a lot of the same people in the cast, but they have a new writer, at least. I think that could only help. Someone that's actually going to write in an actual Mortal Kombat tournament into the movie. I'm excited by that.
It's the guy who wrote 2015's Fantastic Four and the lore-laden Godzilla X Kong movie. I'm not excited for this guy. I mean, I'd be excited for a writer, but I don't know that I'm excited for this writer.
A new draft. It needs to be in different hands, is sort of my thought. But yes, we're largely continuing on. The shock for me is we're continuing on, and you've kind of explained it. It wasn't supposed to be 5 years, but in what feels like an eternity between installments, they're just picking it up like it's the next day.
And when I went to see this, I did go to IMAX. I have a new favorite theater in the Dallas area. It's a Cinemark. It's downtown, quite a ways away from me. It takes like 45 minutes each way to get there. Huge screen. I saw Project Hail Mary there in 70 millimeter, and it was love at first sight, love at first sound system. So I went there, and being one of the largest IMAXs in a major metropolitan area, the theater was pretty sold out for all the good seats clustered in the middle back rows because the screen is so tall. I'm literally like moving my neck up and down to look at all of it. And so I'm like, wow, this is going to be crowded. There were like 70, 80 seats sold. I get there a little bit early. I go, I have my ticket scanned. They hand me glasses. And I'm like, did I get a 3D showing that I didn't know about? No, this movie's not in 3D. I just got a pair of Johnny Cage sunglasses for showing up. But I could tell this theater was just biding their time for Mando and Grogu. The Mando and Grogu popcorn buckets were out. The $80 AT-AT LED light-up popcorn bucket. They had a life-sized Mando and Grogu statue right outside the IMAX theater. Mortal Kombat is going to be warming the screen for Mando, it seems.
Yeah, he's a warm-up act, for sure. That's what I mean. It's not Star Wars. It might be aspiring to that. They can't pretend that they have the same universal audience appeal. But yours was crowded? My theater, I went on a matinee on Friday, so, a lot of people have to work. There's a lot of single dudes, and then, strangely, a gaggle of senior citizens. I don't know why. Maybe they just go see everything. Maybe they thought it was Sheep Detective. I don't know what, but they seemed out of place, but they stayed the whole time.
Well, you didn't let me finish. A whole bunch of tickets were sold, and I was supposed to have people on both sides of me. Marjorie absolutely refused to go to this. She watched the last one with me and was like, fuck it. I go in expecting a crowded theater. Again, I'm looking at the app. I see the tickets sold. 10 people show up, including me. What the hell? Why are all these seats sold?
I don't know how many tickets were sold to my showing, but it was in the big auditorium at my local AMC, and I'm not exaggerating. I had a solo showing. I was the only person in this theater at the 5 o'clock Thursday night showing. You know how sometimes you sit down, it's like you don't realize people walk in and sit behind you? At one point, the sound dipped out of the movie for about 10 seconds, so I got up and I turned around to make sure that somebody was in the projection booth, and yep, I was the only soul in this entire theater.
I've had a few of those screenings. This one wasn't one of them, but yeah. Movie attendance, it's hard to get the big crowd. Star Wars can do it. Mortal Kombat, again, maybe wait for streaming. I wonder if that's what people are going to do.
$40 million opening on an $80 million budget for this. Well, this is a kind of movie that has great international appeal, too.
Yes, exactly. China will love this. It doesn't need to translate all the intricate dialogue. You get it, right? Even if you haven't ever heard of the video game, you're going to understand this movie quick. But was there a popcorn bucket? I didn't even look. I didn't check.
There was a popcorn bucket, lame as shit. It was a movie clapper that just had Mortal Kombat 2 as the title, and it was signed by Johnny Cage. I mean, being an actor, it kind of plays into that Hollywood thing, but come on, give me a Shao Khan skull or something.
Yeah, you got so many characters. You want to have their heads, you know.
That's last minute. That's like corporate getting your name on a pen as a gift type of thing, right? Like
4Imprint did that one.
Exactly. I got some cool character trading cards. They're upper deck cards. They had them laying out, gave me a free pack, and they even had all of them open so you could pick your favorite character if you didn't get it in your pack. So, hey, it was a cool little promo.
Who's your favorite character? Who'd you pick?
Well, I thought it was really cool to see Baraka in this movie, so I got his character card. I was like, gotta have that. Other than that, you know, I pulled a pretty decent pack. I got all the main characters that I would hope to have. Got Cage, I got not Sub-Zero.
Oh, so you got all the main characters that you want, so you clearly got Cole?
Oh, yeah, love Cole. Forgot about Cole completely.
Yes, there's been some cleaning of house. We should probably get into the plot, but I think they took some notes on what people liked and didn't like about the movie last time and tried to speak to that, Cole included. Arnie, why don't you give him that plot?
Picking up right where the first film left off, it's now time for the Mortal Kombat tournament, Earth versus Outworld. And since Outworld has won 9 in a row, if they win this one, they get dominion over Earthrealm, and basically will make it look like a purple desert with no people in it. Due to the death of Kung Lao in the last film, played then and now by Max Huang, Earth is one champion short. So Lightning God Raiden and former soldier Sonya Blade, played by Jessica McNamee, go to recruit washed-up 90s action star Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban. Cage doesn't buy into the whole tournament realm mumbo-jumbo and refuses the call to become one of Earth's heroes, but that doesn't matter, because when you are a chosen champion, you're teleported into Mortal Kombat from wherever you are. In Cage's case, he's getting drunk in a bar. He's teleported in for the first round of Mortal Kombat, where he must fight Princess Kitana, played by Adeline Rudolph. Kitana was from the realm of Edenia, which Outworld Emperor Shao Khan, played by Martin Ford, took over decades prior. Kitana is both his prisoner and his champion, but she secretly has been feeding intel to Raiden to help stop Outworld from taking over Earth. She beats the unready Cage in the fight, but declines to kill him. The second round of Mortal Kombat is Sonya Blade versus Kitana's mother, Queen Sindel. Sindel has been turned into a zombie bride for Shao Kahn, and Sonya kills Sindel in the battle. The score is 1-1. To give Outworld an advantage, Shao Kahn has a necromancer called Quan Chi to bring back from the dead Kung Lao, as well as, to my great joy, Kano, played by Josh Lawson. Kano had stolen a magical amulet from Raiden, and that amulet will drain Raiden's god powers and give Shao Khan immortality. Kung Lao attacks Raiden and slits the god's throat, which doesn't kill him, but keeps him floating and immobile, and then Shao Kahn has the amulet put in safekeeping. Then comes the next rounds of Mortal Kombat. Liu Kang, again played by Ludi Lin, must face off against his zombified best friend Kung Lao. Liu Kang kills Kung Lao, but promises to resurrect him again. Meanwhile, Jax fights against Kitana's bodyguard Jade, and Jax wins, but spares Jade's life to repay the favor of Kitana sparing Cage. Cole Young, the star of the last film and almost a background character here, played by Louis Tan, and literally the only character in the film without a dedicated wiki page, fights Shao Kahn, and to the surprise of no one, Shao Kahn uses his giant hammer to smash Cole's head. Knowing that Shao Kahn cannot be beaten so long as he has the amulet, Liu Kang, Jax, Sonya, and Johnny travel to Outworld, where they go to the Toothy to Cartons for help. Their leader, Baraka, refuses to stand against Shao Kahn until Johnny Cage beats him in non-Mortal Kombat. Then Baraka pledges his allegiance to Cage and shows the four the secret entrance to Shao Kahn's castle. Meanwhile, Jade told Shao Kahn about Kitana's treason, so Kahn has her tied up in an empty town square as an example for the people who aren't there. Shao Kahn goes to stop the four Earth fighters from getting the amulet, and he kills Jax, but before Kahn can kill them all, Liu Kang and Sonya are teleported for the next round, and a back from the dead Bai Han, or as we knew him, Sub-Zero, is now a black-clad ninja called Noob Saibot. He steals the amulet and goes to the Nether Realm, which is basically hell. Kano then teams up with Johnny Cage as Kano doesn't want Earth to be overtaken and become a desert. And so the two best characters in this movie go to the Nether Realm to get Hanzo Hasashi, or as we know him, Scorpion, to get the amulet. As Hanzo is still committed to killing Bai Han, the three go up against the new Noob Saibot, who can create a shadow doppelganger of himself. Meanwhile, the tournament continues. Liu Kang fights Shao Kahn, but the latter's immortality stops all Liu Kang's fiery attacks. Liu Kang then transforms into some kind of fire spirit and floats away, saying he'll resurrect the fallen heroes. I don't know how, as he's fallen himself. Sonya frees Kitana before she has to fight Shao Kahn. Sonya loses, and Outworld has won the tournament. But Kitana changes the rules and says she's now a fighter for Earth, meaning each side still has one champion. Kitana fights Shao Kahn. In the Netherworld, Cage almost sacrifices himself to destroy the amulet, which makes Shao Kahn mortal again, and he's killed in combat by Kitana, who now becomes Queen of the Freed, Edenia. And we see that the heroes captured Quan Chi, so Johnny, Sonya, a fully healed Raiden, Kitana, Jade, Kano, and Bakara plan on making the Necromancer bring back their dead friends as credits roll. And as credits start, did you guys love as much as I did the fact that they changed the font of all of the movie studio logos to be the gradient? Because I know New Line Cinema's logo. I've been watching them since the 80s. I'm like, oh my God, did they change it? Are they red and orange now? And then Atomic Monster comes up. They're all using the Mortal Kombat gradient.
I totally appreciated that, Arnie. It was fun to see those logos that we know so well in the cool, classic Mortal Kombat gradient.
And I noticed Warner Brothers didn't put their shield on this. They let New Line go out alone. Anyway, you know what? Talking about capital improvements, how can we make this better than last time? I think we all agreed that Cole was a loser. He lost his first fight. He had to get help to win all his other fights. He was a character defined by the fact that he wasn't very good at Mortal Kombat and wasn't a part of the video game roster at that.
Yeah, that's the biggest point right there. He was made up for the movie in a movie about a video game.
And he was underwritten, because if you're making up a character for the movie, you should make him the best character in the movie. And they made him the guy who loses all the fights, and his biggest success is bleeding to bring back someone who can actually win the fight against Bai Han, his ancestor Scorpion.
So instead of having his daughter whisper through a cage, "Daddy, get up, stop getting bruised," they've decided that the focal character should in fact be the little girl, Kitana. a character that I kind of remember from Mortal Kombat. I remember the fans. Once the fans come out, I'm like, ah, yes, I remember you. And I think it's just a much better entry point to have a princess have her dad killed in front of her and her throne taken away than having some MMA fighter lose for $200 in a cage.
Well, this isn't the same thing. I mean, the first movie opened with a flashback of Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, the best fight in that movie. And here we're starting in a flashback as well, setting up another rivalry. Both films have their prologue. This is setting up Kitana's hatred for Shao Khan. And Shao Khan wasn't in the last movie. He's the big ruler of Outworld, but we just had to deal with his lackey Shang Tsung last time. And here we're being introduced, kind of like Mortal Kombat Annihilation did. Here's the big bad above Shang Tsung, and here's Kitana, who, you killed my father, prepare to die.
Good choices. I mean, when this guy comes walking in with a big helmet of horns and a giant sledgehammer, you know he means business. He has the presence of Guru. And I think it's helpful to have that fight right here. I mean, we know that when Daddy's talking to the little girl, like, it'll all be okay, but here's a necklace in case I don't make it. He ain't gonna make it.
I do appreciate that we start again with a prologue and a flashback to set up these characters' history. I don't know that this one is as cinematic and as cool as the original Sub-Zero versus Scorpion. It gives us something to cling on to for this movie.
I mean, you can say what you want about it being Sub-Zero versus Scorpion. That's not how it ended up playing out until the very end. I mean, that rivalry was blue-balled so that they could bring in the descendant Cole. Here, Kitana, we're going to see her jump from little girl to adult. In my mind, she is the focal character, along with Johnny Cage, for the movie.
And she took a blue ribbon from her dad's outfit. I don't know where she pulled it from. It was like under his shirt, and puts it in her hair. And we're going to see in this sparring match against her bodyguard Jade, who uses a bow, that when Kitana gets rid of whatever those weapons are, they don't look very useful.
Yeah, she's got like some blocks or something like that in her hands. These aren't weapons. She's like, everything's a weapon. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not a weapon. That's like a doorstop. Yeah.
And so she's able to win the fight using the ribbon. And so you know that's going to come into play later, too. I haven't played enough katanas and never learned enough moves to know if she has a blue ribbon move in the game, but I'm guessing she does.
And clever little subtext here, right? We know that the kids today love to see LGBTQ characters, and we know that there's a certain part of the demographic that will protest and not go see a movie if you have two women in love. So they just keep these two as good friends. They're just these good friends that are going to just protect each other throughout the movie and end up sitting on the throne together, but no one will ever say the word lesbian.
Oh, I did not get that reading at all.
Oh, it's so there, Arnie. It is so there.
It is not there. I'm the one who really sees it in Rogue One, and people say no. Here, they say it. We are sisters. We are family. They are foster sisters. I don't think foster sisters fuck.
In the end, one sits on the queen throne and one sits on the king throne.
I noticed that, and I thought it was a little weird, but I don't see them as romantic in any way.
Well, they don't want you to, Arnie. If you are a person that doesn't want to see that, you can keep being oblivious to it. This is what I'm talking about being clever. You have to really work to please all audiences these days because we're so fractured. And I think they do a good job of telling you two different stories. Whichever one you prefer is the one you're going to see.
And I think you're reading into something not there. So you're seeing what you want to see. I don't think it's in the movie. What I'm finding interesting is Jade says, it's 20 years ago today, the Emperor made me your bodyguard. And I'm like, what's the age difference between these two? I looked it up. Jade is younger than Kitana. Jade is 30. Kitana is 31. You're a 10-year-old. You're the bodyguard for the 11-year-old.
Jade doesn't make a whole lot of sense as a character. We're told she was rescued from some pit and that she's been there to watch as Adenia, this other realm that seems like it's full of nice people that don't know how to fight. She's watched the corruption by Outworld. And yes, they've remained bonded and friends. And she doesn't know that Kitana still has that necklace and is still working with Lord Raiden. That will be a betrayal that comes out throughout the movie.
And we see here Shao Khan did take Kitana's mother, Sindel, as a corpse bride. And Shao Khan has an Aussie accent. I mean, all of these people pretty much are Australian actors, and this was filmed in Australia. But they let Shao Khan just go full Mad Max with his Aussie accent here.
You guys remember the Laugh Olympics? It was like this cartoon where like every week your favorite cartoon characters would compete in an Olympics, and there was always the ones that cheat. It feels like Outworld just can't win if it does the right thing. They always have to have a new scam. And this week's scam is there's an amulet. If we find this amulet, then we can make the power be that Khan can't be defeated. And so raising that amulet means, I guess, bringing back from the dead the person that stole it. Kano. Arnie, you love Kano that much?
Yeah, I loved Kano. I rewatched that first film, and Kano is a literal shining light, the light shining out of his eye, his don't give a shit funny attitude. And here's the thing is I re-listened to that old podcast, and Stuart, you were guessing he's some insult comic from Australia. He is Australian. He did do some improv, but he's mostly an actor, and an actor I really have come to know now. I've watched all of the show Superstore. That was one of my COVID watches, and he was a guest star on that. Then the maker of Superstore has a new sitcom called St. Denis Medical, and this guy is one of the stars of that sitcom. He's one of my favorite characters on that sitcom, and I didn't know until just before recording when I'm looking Josh Lawson up that it's the same guy. I mean, in this movie, he's got a beard, he's ripped, he's going with the full accent. In St. Denis Medical, he looks more like a Ken doll who's just, generically attractive surgeon, and he doesn't use the accent. But he's really good on that show, and he was the best thing about part 1. He's the best thing about part 2 also. Sorry, Karl Urban.
Ouch. I don't know about that. I feel like the reason why people would rally around him was he was the only one having a sense of fun last time, but he got really annoying. I feel like his one-liners weren't particularly sharp, and after a while, even he couldn't inflate the balloon. I mean, the thing sagged, and Kano didn't save it.
No, I gave it a red arrow, but I was close to giving it a green arrow when he was mostly wide.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with Arnie here. I feel like the way they're going to use him throughout this movie is peppered in at just the right spot. And it's not just him. I feel like the difference between this movie and the first outing, they're going to give us a fight and they're going to undercut it with a little bit of brevity or comedy right afterwards. So they kind of keep this snowball effect going right up until it is Mortal Kombat.
Something that you get at, and I want to underline too, is like they use him just right. I feel like this movie has more players and they know what they're capable of. They know what their strengths are and they know what they can't do. And so they're going to use the cast they have to fight the fights that they can win, right? Whereas last time, making Cole the star was such a flop, we have to hand that over to somebody else.
I absolutely love that Cole is so relegated to the background in this one that he's like, I left my wife and daughter. We're not going to see them on screen. We're not going to bother with that one dropped mention to the wife and daughter. And I think that's Cole's almost his only dialogue until his death. But no, when they bring back Kung Lao and Kano, I like this because in the games, it was Mortal Kombat. But every time you played, a lot of the characters came back, but some didn't. So here we bring in this necromancer, Quan Chi, to bring people back from the dead. Some characters did come back from the dead in the game. That was just part of the narrative. But it also explains, even in the early games, why some characters would come back, some characters wouldn't. And I'm laughing out loud at the fact that the screenwriter clearly knows we didn't need to bring Kano back. We could have just looked in his pocket and gotten the amulet. And because they didn't bother body searching him before bringing him back, they're stuck with Kano here, annoying the necromancer into giving him an eye. And then he says what I said, and I think everybody says when they put on glasses for the first time, is this HD?
Here's a couple other things that they decided not to bring back from that first movie. One, we're completely jettisoning the idea that you need this birthmark or this symbol of the dragon to be part of this tournament. That was such a huge part of the first one. Like, we had to watch Sonya Blade kill Kano for her ticket to the tournament. And, here, it's not even a mention. Forget about that.
I was going to ask that. Johnny Cage doesn't have one, right? There's nothing ever said about him having a dragon tattoo.
No, there's no dragon tattoos mentioned at all in this movie. I'm assuming he has one just because of the lore of the last film, but it's never said. I think that would be an easy way to convince Johnny Cage, hey, you're part of this cabal of fighters, is, hey, look, we all have the same tattoo. I don't know who Johnny Cage would have killed to get that tattoo. The introduction to him, though, is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. When we're seeing an old 1996 VHS, you see the tracking and the rolling for Uncaged Fury, and the joke that it's a New Line movie. They use the New Line logo for it. It is so clear that Johnny Cage isn't touching anyone as his punches are a foot away and the scorpions rock you like a hurricane, which has been in almost as many action scenes as the Beastie Boys is playing during this. And it's reminding me of Billy Blank's movies or really low rent kind of action movies from around the turn of that decade. When the lady fires the bazooka, she's shooting it downward at him. He jumps over it, and it veers upward again to hit a helicopter.
A model of a helicopter, right? It was so perfectly 90s schlop. You could tell that was the most fun they had in this movie making experience, was making this fake 90s Johnny Cage movie.
Yeah, clearly it's a joke they love detail work on. I guess I would think it was more funny if I had any love for that genre, but I don't like 90s action movies, Seagal, any of that stuff, Jean-Claude. To me, that's fish in a barrel. It's easy to make fun of that because, well, it was trash. And yes, I imagine that any of those people would be sitting alone at a Comic-Con hawking VHS tapes of their old stuff to nobody.
You'd be surprised. If he was the star of even 90s schlock, I think he'd have a line. Everybody gets a line just about. But I think they're making fun of Comic-Cons because if you hear the announcer, this hit me hard. Attention fans, don't miss your chance to meet your favorite influencers and YouTube stars in Autograph Alley.
Well, it underlines the conflict, right? That this is 2026, or maybe 2024. It's long past the prime for someone like Johnny Cage. And he just feels that. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? It was bothering me. I got to say in the previews, I was like, Karl Urban, whatever his charm, he feels too old to be bringing new energy into a franchise, but they're using that as a strength. The fact that he's a has-been, I don't think he ever has an Arcana moment, right? The sunglasses aren't his Arcana. He just decides that being an actor and playing a badass is enough to becoming one.
That's the other thing I was going to say that they did not bring back. The two major points of that first movie, the Dragon Tattoo and the Arcana, are just not things now.
They do talk about Arcana briefly, like when he first goes and sees people can shoot fire out of their hands. And I think it's Raiden or Sonya says, we don't have time to get you your Arcana. And he's like, well, why did you wait till the last minute? But Sonya does drop that before he was an action star, he was a 5-time black belt and had all of these real fighting skills. Again, I'm thinking Billy Blanks here, who had real martial arts. Supposedly Steven Seagal, but I'm a little bit hazy on if Seagal really has those belts.
I believe he does. I believe that there's information out there to support the idea that at once before he was I would say, particularly uncharismatic movie star, he had some good fights. We'll see Karl Urban look on YouTube and see one of his old teenage fights and think, yeah, I guess I was something before I sold out to Hollywood.
He was the Karate Kid. I mean, that match looked straight out of the Karate Kid. They say it's 1985, the year after the Karate Kid. I did the math. If the movie's happening in 2026, it makes him 53. And right now, Karl Urban is 51. So pretty close. And That's not too old for anything, goddammit.
Well, yeah, exactly. This movie is targeting us, right? It's fanboys that grew up in the 80s, know the references. When he says that Lord Raiden looks like Big Trouble in Little China cosplay, we know that joke.
All 10 people in my audience did.
Yeah, we made that joke. It lovingly satirizes the property, but it understands who grew up loving it as well.
Right. I mean, we have to be honest here. Mortal Kombat is an over 30-year-old property, right? We were in college playing Mortal Kombat. We are the target audience here. And this introduction to Johnny Cage, I'm of two minds here. Like, I'm being reminded of Galaxy Quest and how that went down, and kind of hoping that they do that here. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want them to copy that. But I feel like this is the perfect setup where Johnny Cage could be a fish out of water in this world and make a few more observations a la Tim Allen in that other movie.
I think he's more charming than Cole, and then, of course, everyone is. And this movie would flop if every single scene was cutting back to him going, I'm so handsome. You know, like they can't overplay the joke. And again, the compliment that I give this movie is they will give Karl Urban just enough screen time to land all of his jokes and not overstay his welcome.
Agreed, and I think it's savvy of them to give us another point of view character to have everything explained to, because it has been 5 years since the last film, if you even saw it. And so having the stranger in the strange land, Cole was the point of view character last time. Here we have Johnny Cage to tell everything to, so that the audience can find out about the tournament and the 9 times Outworld has won and all that.
And it's kind of a funny joke that he's more or less game for it. He's like, is this a paying gig? He walks into the lightning. He goes to the Sky Temple or whatever. He's more or less going to go through with it because what else does he have in his life? But when he actually finds out that they mean it when they say Mortal Kombat, that you die, that's when he refuses the call. That's when he heads to the bar and says, I'm not down for dying.
Hey, I'm not some fucking Squid Game murder party. I loved that.
I want to say at this point that I'm enjoying the scenery and the set work here, right? In that first movie, I felt like we were in small town Earth whenever we were on location. We were either there or in a junkyard. And when we went to the Outer Worlds, they just found a sand pit somewhere and put a few set dressings. Here we're in Raiden's Sky Castle and we see galaxy stuff going on behind him. We're in an actual castle when we're on the other world. Production value here has upped its game quite a bit.
Agreed. Again, I think everyone has. Even characters that I didn't really like last time, they're either a little bit better or they're just not here that much. You know, Sonya, Cole, and Jax are all just kind of, you know, in the background. We see them, they're there, but they're not taking the spotlight. They're not asking us to think of them as stars. And that's helpful. I think the most helpful, the biggest fix that they did, let's actually have Mortal Kombat tournaments. Seems like a no-brainer, but the last movie just decided they were too good for it. And now we have the Elder Gods, so they're called, pulling Cole from the bar and Sonya from the temple to fight in the first fights.
The bartender there, I found out after watching this, is Mortal Kombat's co-creator, Ed Boon. And he does a pretty good job acting as a bartender. I actually just thought he was some SAG day player who had to deliver some lines as a bartender. But no, he was creator of the first game. He was like the original voice of Scorpion and Reptile in Mortal Kombat 1 in 92.
And I wasn't sure who it was, but the camera definitely lingered on him and gave him a chance to smile at the camera that I was like, oh, that's somebody I'm supposed to know if I'm a big enough fan. Yeah, we actually get some video game conceit here. There's some floating pyres in the sky showing how many fighters are left. I kind of dug that. That first movie, none of this, right? Like, we don't even get to the tournament in the first movie. It was all just Shang Tsung trying to kill everybody before the tournament.
Yeah, well, let's cheat by killing them before they go into the ring, even though they suck, and we could kill them in the ring.
So yeah, right off the bat, we know that these guys are trying to right the wrongs of the last movie and get us into this tournament.
And great fight. I've got to say, this thing, when they actually put Kitana versus Johnny Cage, you got to be thinking, well, who's going to lose here? Because we like both of these characters. They're both point of view characters. And when she breaks out that fan that Jade gave her and is using it to climb the roofs and all of that, that is Crouching Tiger shit I love.
I agree. This is fun stuff. Johnny Cage giving the obvious lines, I don't want to punch a woman. Kitana being such a badass.
You won't. Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
And you know what? I am inclined to be more forgiving to that first film because this is filmed well, this is staged and choreographed well. We hypothesized that COVID may have had something to do with the first film being so shitty edited and so shitty overall. And it shows me here, McQuoid can do it. And maybe he was just a little hamstrung either by budget or by time or by COVID last time. This is a really fun fight. And they do something I don't think they've ever done in a Mortal Kombat movie before, at least not a live action one, is when Cage, after he gets knocked through the roof and everything, he's swaying, which is what happens to you at the end of Mortal Kombat, which is when somebody can do the fatality. You just sway, you've lost, but it gives the winner a chance to do something super cool. I almost wonder if it's a CG Karl Urban because the swaying is so perfect.
It pulled me right back into that game, Arnie. It was so dead on. I was like, oh, finish him. And like, I almost got that little bit of anxiety, like, oh, I have 10 seconds to remember this combination. Oh, I didn't do it. He just fell over.
And Shao Khan yells, finish him. It feels organic as compared to the last film where they were saying the lines, but they felt forced. This felt really cool.
So I couldn't remember in Mortal Kombat, it's a choice to rip out their skull or their heart or whatever. It doesn't always end that way because I thought it was a little bit of a cheat that she walks away letting him live.
Some people call it a choice. I call it a skill issue because I've never been able to do it. I try every time.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I know I'm not good at that game, but I just thought automatically the round ended with blood and guts because that's what you want to see.
That was the special little Easter egg, right? Like, if you were super good at it and you could show your friends, like, hey, I know how to do the move that rips your spine out of your body and shows it to everybody. And if you didn't pull it off in the allotted amount of time, the opponent just fell over. And that was the end of the match. And that's a cool thing to bring in here to this movie, because like Arnie said, it is part of the game, and we let our new point of view character live to see more screen time.
These are the two important characters. They're both alive to continue. She's the champion, and he goes back humbled and really wondering, again, he's sort of in an existential funk about what is my worth for the rest of the movie. Meanwhile, Sonya Blade, I think a character we all thought pretty unsatisfying last time, gets the weakest fight in the movie.
It's not great, but I'm glad it's happening. You know, she gets teleported off. We're supposed to think that these fights happen kind of simultaneously, but fortunately they don't cross-cut between them. We get to enjoy them as matches like we would in the game. And the reason why I think this might be the worst is Sindel is the least developed character in the movie, and this is a movie full of underdeveloped characters. All I can think of, though, is this is so much better a Sindel than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
Oh, dear. Yes. Don't bring up Annihilation. That is the worst of the worst.
I had to play a little bit of catch up here. It took me a little minute to remember who Sindel was, right? Like, I thought this was just another baddie. Oh, nope, this is Kitana's mother. She has been necromanced or turned to the dark side, whatever. And this also reminds me that we are in a rated R movie. Like, we are going to get some pretty good gore going on here.
Yeah, it's a cool set. They got spikes.
And that's something from the game is like when you're fighting on the bridge, you can get knocked off the bridge and fall onto the spikes below and die. I love that Sindel's power is like super bad breath. She just can breathe on you. And I don't understand how a corpse prevents you from getting knocked back by wind. It seems like that would operate like a sail, but it's some fun stuff and some good punches. The best moment, I think, is when Sindel is down and uses the breath to like propel herself into a wall to knock Sonya off of her. It's not the weakest fight in the film. It may be the least impactful. Cole still gets the worst fight in the film. It just ends on a better note than this. But here, I like that she not only blows a hole in the zombie's stomach, but hey, let's just be sure, flips her over and smashes her head on a spike.
All the fights are decent. There's no bad fight. Again, they minimize Sonya here, and for good reason. She just doesn't have a whole lot to offer. She's got these magic wrist cuffs or whatever. And yeah, anytime someone is blown against the wall, that woman shrieking and blowing her around, that's fun to watch. But the point is, it's 1-1, right? The good guys, Earth, Sonya gets that victory. And Kitana, well, we think she's on the bad side, but this is when we get the reveal. I mean, we kind of already knew, right? if the big guy came in and said, I'm your daddy now, and killed her father, she wasn't always going to stay with Outworld.
I thought that necklace would be like a salvation thing. Like she could radio and at a dire moment, she'd use the necklace and Raiden would come to her aid. I never took it as like a communicator or teleporter that would allow her to go to Raiden. Her dad had said Raiden is always listening, and so I thought maybe it was a bug or a plant or something so Raiden could spy. I didn't know Kitana was going to be so clearly on the side of Earthrealm.
To me, that makes sense. Again, because Earth is about to be subjugated by the same power that subjugated her, they have an obvious alliance.
It is the one thing from the first movie that carries over here that I think is information that needs to be reiterated. This is the final tournament, and if the bad guys of Shang Tsung and Shao Khan win this one, they basically rule everything, right? They'll not only take over Earth, they'll have all the realms, so this is the final moment. They must win this tournament, and to have those stakes on screen, I think helps us realize that somebody like Kitana is going to play the good guy eventually, right? Like, I don't think she's just going to roll over because her dad lost a tournament the last time around.
Yeah, and it makes you realize Outworld has to cheat, because what do they even got? Even their own fighters are secretly going to betray them. Again, we don't really understand Jade and where her alliances is, but she's very mad when she finds out Kitana is doing this, and she doesn't rat on her at first, but eventually she's going to have her arrested and all of that.
It's kind of a problem in this film that Outworld's best fighters aren't here. They killed Sub-Zero in the last film and Scorpion, both of whom really fought for Outworld in the games, even though they were enemies of each other. We are going to get them back later, much later. And then they also killed Goro, who's just such a memorable four-armed giant, and they didn't resurrect him here. They don't bring in like the Minotaur or the robots or any of those others that we did see in Mortal Kombat II. They did kill Reptile also in the first one. And so it really does feel like Outworld has like two people, Sindel and Shao Khan, as fighters. They don't even let Shang Tsung fight this movie. And I would think he'd be a fighter for Outworld.
Kano is going to flip. I mean, the Queen is doing it against her will as well. There's really only one bad, and he's super bad. It's helpful that he's this big guy with the horn helmet and the giant hammer. But yes, it's just one bad guy against all of these others that are sort of having disagreements with each other, but are all pretty united against stopping him. But the plan is, we're going to send in the sorcerer Shang Tsung, the bad guy from the last time, and he brings back the hat guy, Kung Lao, and they go to the Sky Temple. I mean, why not just bring the hat? You don't have to bring the guy back from the dead.
It's his arcana. His power is the hat. Not anyone can make the hat fly.
I could make that hat fly. I definitely could make that hat fly. Actually, no one can make that hat fly. But anyway, it ends up doing its thing and spinning around like a saw blade and slitting the throat of Lord Raiden. And that puts him in a medical emergency for the rest of the movie where he's near death. And they take his soul or his energy or his god power, whatever you want to say, and give it to Shao Kahn so that he can now not be hurt. Even though he's going to fight and lose in later tournament rounds, it won't matter because he can survive any wound.
Right, he has immortality now that he has Raiden's power. This scene here where Kung Lao comes in with his hat and ends up fighting Liu Kang, a gorgeous looking fight. Like, this fight is incredible. This might be a masterclass in how to shoot a Mortal Kombat fight with a cool background, but also focusing on the actual moves.
You're talking about the tournament round where there's like a vortex behind them. They're at a pagoda or whatever, and it keeps turning from blue to red.
Yes. This is the one part where I kind of wished I had rewatched the first one before going into this movie, because this is the most emotional of the fights. With Kung Lao, I completely forgot about his character in the first one and how much him and Liu Kang were brothers. And, he died and had his soul sucked out by Shang Tsung pretty early in that movie. If I had that emotional weight going in, this would have landed a lot harder for me.
Kung Lao was barely in the last movie. His hat was kind of funny. He was mostly there to eat an egg roll. I don't know that rewatching the first film beforehand made this scene more emotional, but I will say that yes, McQuoid is doing a great job of taking scenery that looks like actual Mortal Kombat levels, like the bridge and this temple, and making them cinematic and three-dimensional in that the camera isn't just doing a static two-shot like the old games did, but being able to swing around the characters like the new games do. And that hat, it's no longer just a boomerang. In that first film, it did feel like a boomerang hat. But here, Kung Lao has like telekinesis, but only for the hat. He can only make the hat float and spin and go wherever and come back wherever.
To me, the fix is that Liu Kang sucked. You know, he was the star of the 1995 movie, and we're told he's the greatest of the fighters. But in that last movie, when you meet him, he's fit, he can do the fighting, but dramatically, oof, none of this landed, dramatically speaking. I think it's helpful just to have it be a great fight and just be at this sticking point of, I'm going to kill you now so that I can bring you back later. I think that that's the most that this Liu Kang could do to relate to the audience, and don't give him any more. That's what he can do. And meanwhile, Cole, the true loser of last time, gets a win. I mean, he does beat Shao Khan, right? To be fair, him and his magic shirt do take out the big guy. If he didn't have the amulet power, it would have gone to Cole. So Cole finally gets a victory.
Sort of, but I mean, he loses massively too.
Well, I mean, everyone does when you're invincible and you can come back from any wound.
They give him his one moment where he gives the speech where he's like, this is for my family, for my friends, for every moment that brought me here. This is for Earth, you son of a bitch. And I'm sorry, Louis Tan, you're still just better as a punchline in Deadpool versus Wolverine than you are delivering these lines. And I'm more than happy to watch you get your head smashed by that giant hammer. Like frickin' Gallagher show.
I think it's supposed to be a shock. But even going into the movie, and I was like, if Karl Urban's the star, what are they going to do with the star of the last movie? Even before the credits started, I just had it in my head, they're going to get rid of that guy. They're going to make it seem like a dramatic, oh my God moment, because they have to kill some hero of Earth. We can't have a contest where all the Earth heroes make it. This is one you can sacrifice. It's well done. They've taken, again, a loser and made him someone now that you feel bad for.
I knew he was going to die. My only shock is that he lived longer in this movie than Johnny Cage did in Annihilation, because I literally thought he'd be like an opening scene kill.
Yeah, no, they used it correctly here. They used his death correctly. He was the least liked part of that first movie by fans, and to resurrect him to a degree here and make him a good martyr, I think, is the right instinct.
I mean, I think this fight was good, and I think it was dramatic to watch that head smash. Well done. Again, they're utilizing the characters. It's not like the character got better, but they utilized him better this time. They didn't ask more than he could do. It's true of Jax, too. All we know about Jax is he has some cool jacked arms, robot arms, and his moment of glory is that he spares Jade. Who's going to win this fight? We kind of like both of them. Kitana already revealed herself to be a hero that has, I'm going to argue, some feelings for Jade. Please protect her, or at least make it quick. Don't make her suffer. And Jax repays the favor. Jax wins, but Jade doesn't die. Which makes me wonder if it's 3-2, didn't Earth win?
No, it's until they run out of fighters. So there's 5 fighters on each side. And when a fighter loses, live or die, that fighter is out. If the fighter wins, they stay in to fight again.
So now there's some stakes, right? Like, they can't just keep fighting. They realize that Shao Khan is cheating because he has that amulet. So they formulate a plan to sneak into the palace in Arcana. On the way there, they first have to go through a village, the Tarkatan village. I didn't know the name Tarkatan, but as soon as we saw these people, I was like, oh, this is where we're going to meet Baraka, the toothy bad guy.
I love that there's a whole species of Baraka, that there's just a lot of them. Because everything in Mortal Kombat's like a one-off design. So to see Baraka children and all that.
Well, we did have Melina last time. There was the chick with the big wide grin. And again, cool design, but she wasn't a cool villain. I think it's cool that they brought these people back. And yes, tweak them so that they could be both villainous and kind of anti-hero by the end. This was a cool design, and it finally gives Johnny some self-confidence, right? He's here just to smack talk and talk up Liu Kang, and he ends up talking himself into a fight to the death with Baraka, the king of this bone village.
These lines, I like the reference humor they're giving Johnny Cage, saying, you're going to have to tell your spirit Halloween grandbabies. It's just, I'm laughing anytime this happens, and I know what's going to happen. I know that Baraka is going to be like, I must fight you because you're the one who disrespected me. I'm not going to fight Liu Kang. And I think this was also in the trailer to see the slow-mo spikes get fired at Johnny Cage. Baraka would have been a really cool fighter for Outworld, but I do like that he just kind of complicates the story and adds to it as more of a disinterested third party. He's not in the Mortal Kombat, but he is a servant of Shao Khan, so anything to get out of that servitude. If you don't have an army, how are you going to go up against Shao Khan? I'm not going to risk myself for just you four.
I do like that Liu Kang's like, he treats you like wild dogs. He's like, we are wild dogs. That's correct.
There's some funny stuff going on in this fight, right? Like, we see that Johnny Cage's power is the fact that he did fake his fights in movies. So part of the fight is just the two of them, like, almost breakdance fighting, like just punching at air in front of each other's face.
It happened in the Caged movie where he's like pinwheeling his arms like two 5-year-olds fighting at each other. And he does it here. When it was in the movie, I'm like, well, this is comical. When he's doing it here, I'm like, wait, do I not know martial arts enough to know that this pinwheel arm thing is a move? Because Baraka looks impressed by this thing that I thought I did when I was 3.
Again, I don't know my 90s action movies. I don't know that move, but Jean-Claude always did the splits. I do know that. So when he does the splits and punches him in the balls, that's a Jean-Claude joke.
And a Johnny Cage move in the game.
Yeah, that is his move. I heard somebody talking in the audience before this movie started and said, I wonder if they can get Karl Urban to do the splits and punch someone in the balls. And I turned to the stranger and said, if they don't, we all are deserved a refund. This is what Johnny Cage does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Like, could they possibly do that? If they don't do it, they have failed.
And so, yes, when he does it here, I love that Baraka just is so happy to get punched in the nuts. Like, you must teach me.
Again, it's kind of a cheat, right? That, like, we never have too many kills in Mortal Kombat. They know that they're trying to build up characters, so we don't want to eliminate them. And even the ones that have been eliminated or coming back from the dead, I get the impulse. I get that you want it to feel Marvel Universe. But it's a little bit of a cheat that in Mortal Kombat, a game famous for gory deaths, there really isn't many.
I kind of feel like Cole had his head smashed specifically so they can't bring him back. Everybody else still has a skull, but Cole, sorry, man.
Are you sure? This movie will end with them saying, let's go get back all our dead fighters. I think he's in the sequel. My guess is that he'll come back as some kind of weird new character, kind of like Sub-Zero. We should say that this necromancer, who I don't understand, can you explain what this is and why he's allowed to bring people back from the dead? In the middle of all of this, we cut back to him bringing back Sub-Zero as some other creation.
I did look him up. I never played the games he was in. He started off in a Mortal Kombat Mythologies, which is very story-based, where he was trying to get an amulet and setting Sub-Zero and Scorpion up against each other, and revived Scorpion as an undead being. So this is from the games that this guy is able to bring you back from the dead and wants an amulet. They've incorporated that well here.
Do you play him? Is he a fighter that you could play in a Mortal Kombat way?
I think so. Like, from what I looked up, the model they used for him, he was more muscular. He almost looked like God of War type of thing with his face paint and stuff. Here, he's coming off almost like Brain Guy from Mystery Science Theater with his hood always on and the gaunt eyes.
Yeah, he looked silly to me, and I wondered if that was intentional or whether this was another Cole Young situation of they introduced a character that's not from the game.
You could definitely fight with him, but I don't know if he's like fightable in the main story or if he's just when you grab a controller and your friend grabs a controller, you can choose to fight as him.
But his inclusion here feels a little fan servicey for those fans of the later games, because to me, it's just a little confusing, because the first movie, Shang Tsung was the main bad guy. Here, he's been relegated to kind of, a sidekick for Shao Khan, and maybe he should just be that necromancer. He should be the guy who's helping out Shao Khan, but he has a guy that he has helping him, so it's one too many characters.
There's two sorcerers. A necromancer and a sorcerer, you need both, really? Yeah, the older guy, Shang Tsung, he has one moment where he's caught. Jade catches him sitting on a throne, and I thought, oh, there's going to be a twist where he's going to try to undo Shao Khan or whatever. I feel like they probably could have had one more subplot in here, one more betrayal. But yes, this character just gets lost in the shuffle. He was the main big bad of the last movie. And maybe it's okay, because I know he's close to 70 years old. This guy maybe doesn't need to have a big action set piece, but Shang Tsung has been lost in Mortal Kombat 2, replaced by this necromancer.
It is a shame, since both are kind of sorcerers, that they couldn't have used Shang Tsung better. He survived the last one, and I get you want to bring in Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn's the bigger bad. I just wish there was more than the one threatening line Shao Kahn says to Shang Tsung of, don't get greedy for that amulet, the power is mine.
That's what I mean. There feels like there was a storyline cut, right, where those two would go at it for the amulet.
It does. And then this amulet is called the Amulet of Shinnok. And Shinnok in the game is Shao Kahn's father, who becomes yet another bad guy.
Oh, dear. No, we don't need that. Again, I can barely hold on to all these names. I feel like they were maybe going to do the villain of the last movie a favor by having him be a betrayer, but they just realized in the end this is a youth market property. And Kitana should have that, right? She gets busted, it should be said, around this time. She comes back from her mission telling people how to go through the underground tunnel, and Jade is the one that has guards waiting and chains her up in the city square. Not exactly killing her, but I guess at least showing all the people that their princess has been humbled. And this is also where Kitana and Jade have some kind of dialogue about which side to be on. And I guess Jade is convinced to switch sides. I really lose track of her. But at some point, she fights with a staff, and it ends up turning into like a glowing green lightsaber. And she's on the good side. I don't quite track how that happened.
Yeah, earlier when she was fighting Jax, he noticed that the staff was extra strong. He noticed a green glow, and he asked, what is this? And it must be something special from the games that I'm not aware of, because the movie seemed to make a big deal out of, oh, she's knocked the covering off of this, and now it's the green thing that you recognize, apparently.
I thought it was just symbolic, because the cover she broke off was Shao Kahn's head, Shao Kahn's symbol. And so by breaking that, she was saying, I am no longer allied with Shao Kahn.
For sure that. But yes, what else is going on here and why? Well, we're heading towards the climax, and a lot of things are happening with a lot of different characters, and she's not our favorite, so I guess it makes sense that she gets lost as our heroes arrive. Baraka leads them to the tunnels, kills a couple guards, and Johnny promises to return to give him his full Jedi lesson.
The writers or the editor, somebody decided that this side quest to get the amulet back is going to be speed run, right? Like they split up immediately to go off into different areas, and 30 seconds later, they're all in the same room.
There's the amulet, and we're all here. Yeah. I think this was probably a longer movie, and wisely, again, so many good choices being made this time. Let's not have this movie go over 2 hours. That would be exhausting.
No, perfect runtime for this movie. Maybe a touch on the long side, but I don't know what I'd cut because I like what's there. I like that Jax is the one with his robot arms that can spring the trap around this amulet, and then Shao Kahn comes in and gets a second kill, and I kind of knew Jax was due for death too. I mean, we're killing off our heroes, and Jax, he had some funny lines. He does feel like Luke Cage next to Johnny Cage, but I kind of figured he was headed for the scrap heap with those robot arms.
They're trying to do something between him and Sonya, and by killing him, I guess it gives Sonya more, investment in this final battle. She'll be pulled into the final tournament against Shao Kahn. She won't be much of a competition, but anyway, she's full of fury that her friend is dead.
In typical Star Wars fashion, our climax is going to be split into two different areas, right? We're going to go down to the Netherworld to chase the amulet that's been taken down there. And we're also going to have the climactic fight scene on the surface. I'm kind of digging this. Like, so far, we've been able to focus on one fight at a time. Here, we're going to get this climactic, several people fighting in different locations type of thing.
And Kano at the center of all of it. He flips. He comes back, and I do like this. Yeah, why would I want the bad guys to win if they're going to make everything rubble? I want to be able to party with foursomes and Jack and Coke, and that won't happen. Yeah, it really comes down to vice. I want my vices, and Outworld just doesn't have them.
And I do like that they go down to the Netherworld and they have to convince Scorpion to fight with them. And all they have to do is say, Bai Han is here, and Kano's eating a peach, but it's all an illusion, and the peach goes rotten. Kano has to spit it up as the world goes away.
Let me try to understand this, because it is the feudal Japanese hut from the opening of the first movie, but it is Hanzo's hell because that's where he lost his wife and son, right? He's in his own personal hell, even though it looks like he's attending to a nice rock garden. Being there is hell for him because he is constantly reminded he was not a protector of his family, right?
Not how I took it at all. What he says is if you have the will, you can create hell in whatever you want it to be. So he's just strong-willed enough to make hell heavenly.
Yes. The peaches rot and all of that when he hears the name of his nemesis. He's like, oh, it's on. And he gets his suit again. And on one hand, it's like, well, I guess there's nothing mortal about these combats. Everyone can come back anytime. But at the same time, this was the best stuff of the last movie. And these actors can still do it. So why not have a rematch?
And I love that Karl Urban was game enough to be like, one ring to rule them all as they're in the fires of Mordor. And it's just making me think, throw the amulet in the lava.
I thought that's how it would end. I thought he would sacrifice by jumping into the lava and burning the amulet that way. But yeah, it's just a Lord of the Rings joke because he was in it.
Yep.
But Frodo didn't jump in the lava. I didn't think Johnny Cage would die in this film at any point, but I thought he could cast the amulet into the lava because they haven't been able to figure out how to break the amulet yet.
I still thought that he would get a Arcana power. I thought he'd go in the lava and come out as some super dude.
Oh, he did. It's blink and you miss it. His Arcana power is the sliding green-powered kick, which actually does destroy the amulet. Everybody else tried. It was too strong. His sliding 1-foot kick, that's his Arcana.
Right. In the end, when they all gang up against the two, I don't know what to call him. I'm going to call him Sub-Zero. You can call him whatever. But yeah, he can split into two. He has a shadow of self, and they have a lot of fun jumping around this hellscape before he's basically surrounded by Scorpion, Jade, and Kano are all giving different colors, beams of light and shooting this guy. And then, yeah, Johnny says something about, I've decided that I know what it is to be a hero, does the middle finger sunglasses thing, and kicks the amulet into dust.
The whole thing was he lost perspective. There's that moment where he's asking Raiden, do you take magic fighting pills? Is that where you get your powers? And it's birdseed. And Raiden's like, you lack perspective. And then before going to the Netherworld, Kano and Cage visit Raiden. And Raiden's like, there will be no glory. Nobody's going to know what you've done because I may not have the power to bring you back. And Cage is like, well, now I have perspective. And he takes such a hard fall off of the levels in the Netherworld that I thought he might possibly be really damaged or hurt, but no, he just comes back and does his magic kick move.
That didn't land with me. They tried to, again, build an arc for him where he doesn't have the perspective to appreciate that out of 8 billion people, he's the one that can do this. But all that dialogue, all that they give him, it's a choice. But really, Lord Raiden sucks so bad in this movie. I wasn't impressed with the actor that they cast last time, but him just floating there, lying there with a slit throat the whole time and giving this kind of fortune cookie advice, none of this works. It should be said that they give Shang Tsung a moment where he seems to be coming to Raiden to murder him while he's in that state. And then when the amulet breaks, he gets his power back. And I don't know, did Shang Tsung get defeated?
Does anybody get defeated? That's my overall question in this series, right?
The answer is no. No, but Shang Tsung is at the Sky Temple walking up to the floating body and about to do some shit. And the lightning goes back into Lord Raiden, and then I lose track of what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happens to Shang Tsung. We'll find out in part 3, I guess. I'm hoping they kept him around to use better than they use him here.
Hard to say. But what it does is we cut back to the tournament battle, and Liu Kang, who we think is going to be the one to bring down Shao Khan, well, he loses, but seems happy about it, because now he can go into the Netherworld and find his brother.
Yeah, he kind of Obi-Wan's his situation, right? Like, oh, he's dead, but he's going to be more powerful this way, so don't cry too much about Liu Kang's death.
I won't, because I never really liked this actor.
But I did like how Scorpion was doing the main fighting against Noob Saibot, and the Shadow was going after Kano and Cage. That was a fun, like, 4-way fight before Jade showed up.
Yeah, and I have to say I like the character design of what they did with Sub-Zero. The undead Sub-Zero is all black face with white eyes, and his costume's no longer blue. Like, this is a cool iteration of that main bad guy from the first movie.
Yeah, but the only real fight that matters is the one that was set up by the opening scene, right? Kitana lost her father and had this poser say, "I'm your daddy now. We've been wanting this. We know Sonya's not the champion, but she can at least use her wrist cuffs to blast the chains off of Kitana and let daughter fight fake daddy."
And this feels like cheating because Shao Kahn won. The flames in the sky went out. There were 2 left for Outworld, none left for Earth. You know, after the ref goes game, set, match, you can't go, wait, this is doubles now. We're still playing. It's over.
But there's a lot of cheating going on here. I mean, if there was a referee, they'd need to be fired. They've let lots of bad things happen, including people hunting down and assassinating people before they get in the ring.
Well, Raiden's fellow gods are the refs. They need to do some shit.
Yeah, I don't even know who those are. We haven't met the Eternal ones.
No, but I mean, I think this is a pretty satisfying end to the fight, right? Like, the timing is just right. The amulet's destroyed, and Shao Kahn loses his immortality, and Kitana not only gets to defeat him and save her world and Earth realm, but, you know, knock off this 20 years of BS that he's caused her people. The crowd of people are there to see her finally victorious over the man who killed their king.
I was happy just to see a crowd because that place had been barren. It was like Mortal Kombat Annihilation empty for most of this movie. They're talking about the people. The only people I ever saw were in Baraka's camp. I'm like, where are all these people that you're making an example of? And finally here at the end, I think the exact same extras who were in the background during our opening fight with King Gerard are now here in the background for the fight of Kitana.
And again, I've appreciated the R rating. It was smart to keep that. I'm sure there were people at Warner Brothers that thought, I don't know, we'd have more people in seats if we could get the under 18 crowd. But boy, maybe the most satisfying blood and guts is when she rips off that helmet and just dices up his brain. I just really love that concluding image. It's a great way to kill Shao Kahn.
Yeah, I loved the brain matter that we get to see in the skull there. And unfortunately, when they rip off his mask, it's just a very bland face. But yeah, it doesn't last long before those fan blades cut it apart.
And she's queen now. She and Jade are going to rule Adenia in some kind of way that presumably is better than Outworld anyway. Johnny's not going back to Hollywood. He's going to honor his promise and go back to the teeth people and tell them lies about his heroism.
That was great. I almost wish, though, that the movie we'd seen was told by Johnny Cage and all in flashback and self-aggrandizing him. And then we find out at the end, oh, Johnny Cage didn't do all the things we thought he did. Instead, we're just being told the story he told is not the story we saw. But Baraka and his people's fawning love of Cage is so cute. That's the only word I can come up with it. With the makeup on his face and everything, Baraka is just cute, like a snaggletooth puppy.
Yeah. They're fanboys. They like this Johnny, even though Johnny, quite honestly, is powerless. He is nothing special. His charm is enough, and that's restored his confidence as well. He's ready to begin the sequel, and they all but telegraph what they're going to do next time. There'll be no tournament. Lord Raiden just wants to go to the Netherworld and get all the people that were killed back.
Yeah, so what are we going to do? Like, have a movie fighting through the different levels of the Netherworld? We'll have previously good guys fighting for the bad guys. Who knows? But that's a discussion for 5 years from now. Who knows how long this is going to be before we see the next one.
Yeah, the writer of the first one said he had envisioned a trilogy, and the first one would be leading up to the tournament, the second one would be the tournament, and the third one would be the aftermath of the tournament, which is why I brought up the name of the guy who owns the amulet, because I'm betting Shao Kahn's daddy is mad.
Yeah, there'll be some new characters introduced, and I predict, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Cole Young's coming back, but they will turn him into some kind of villainous character. They'll do something to him to make him more interesting, because they know that whole long-suffering daddy MMA fighter shtick didn't work. So I don't know that I'm excited for this, but they seem to have corrected the problem here and know what they're doing, right? It's a middle finger, put on the sunglasses as we head off with, quote, Voldemort's nutsack, right? This necromancer is going to be key to them resurrecting all the dead.
Yes, I think he was called a big white dildo earlier by Kano. Kano basically gets the Billy the Butcher lines in this one.
Although he's got to fight Johnny for some. I mean, those two, when they get together in the movie, it's like, of course, these two feel like mirror images.
So, Justin, Stuart, test your might. Do you recommend Mortal Kombat 2? Justin.
I've been trying to think of another movie or franchise that's taken so many different stabs at the source material that I feel like in a reboot era came out in the second round and decided, you know what, forget most of that stuff from the first movie, and we're going to fix it going forward. Usually, it's just like, well, it did well enough, let's just do something else. Here, I feel like they took just enough from that first movie to make you care about parts of it, and went in their own direction enough to completely retcon it. And I can't think of another example where that's happened, where they kind of stomped on the source material and said, we're going to tell our own story, but still keep the characters and storylines going. It's kind of an anomaly in that way, and I have to kind of give them credit for it. I don't know that you could do that in any other franchise, but since it is Mortal Kombat, an arena where you can kill people and they'll come back, and it almost doesn't have any stakes in that way, they've taken that and made it feel like there are stakes, at least in this middle form, right? I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this whole series in a third version where all these people that I'm feeling something for that have been killed off, if they're coming back, then it just kind of will take this movie and make it feel lesser. But in this moment right now, I feel like they pulled off something that I wasn't sure that they could do. And that is make me care about some of these characters and make me excited about this franchise that every time it goes to the big screen, I just end up yawning and waiting for the cool house song to come on. This is an achievement. I actually sat down through this movie and did not feel its runtime. I did not feel bored like I have in every other installment of this. I was impressed with the way they used their budget. I was impressed with the way they wrote their characters. Yes, there's some clunky one-liners. Yes, there's some dropped plot lines. But for me, I think this is the best outing in the Mortal Kombat universe. And I know, Arnie, you still have a special place in your heart for that first one. I think this blows it out of the water. I think they got the look of the characters correct. I think they got the lore of the characters correct. And I'm happy to give this one a recommend. And it might be my first one in this series. I'd have to go back and look if I recommended that original one from the 90s. It's weird to be this far into a series and finally throwing out a recommend in the middle of a new trilogy. So this one surprised me. I wasn't expecting much, and it kind of hit me in a way that I was like, oh, well done. Well done, Mortal Kombat 2026.
Nobody has recommended a Mortal Kombat movie except for me recommending 95. And to your point about stomping on the previous one, the movie I kept thinking of with this, G.I. Joe Retaliation did about the same thing. They brought back the hero of the first one, killed him, handed the franchise to The Rock, and moved on. Stuart.
Yeah, I think it's a great example of punching up. Like, these are mediocre talents. I defined them as such last time, and I don't think that they're great. I don't think that they prove that they're actually great talents. I think that they prove that they're mediocre talents that were willing to give an extra effort. Last time, they were happy to be losers, and this time they really tried and made something that, this is not the greatest example of a fantasy or, an action movie or anything, but they make a very compelling, solid B movie out of junk. And I didn't think it was possible, honestly. It doesn't transcend the video game genre, but it's one of its best examples. I think not only is this the best Mortal Kombat, I think it's probably the best example of a fighting game being adapted into a movie. We'll find out there's still a Street Fighter coming out towards the end of the year that's going to give it some competition. But the movie I was thinking a lot about was how X-Men upped its game to X2, right? Like that first one, it was a lot of bad costumes and unconvincing wigs, and only people that really liked the characters were able to go with what Bryan Singer could pull off with less money than he needed. The movie X-Men was saved by Hugh Jackman, and Mortal Kombat didn't have a comparative last time. But now, yeah, they have enough compelling, quirky little characters and a darker, more confident style. It just really sells the idea that they're doing here. And I think, you can credit Karl Urban, but I don't think he's the reason why this is better. I think everyone is better. I also think Kitana did a lot of heavy lifting as well. I think everyone really gave it their best shot. Because of that, while I'm not the target audience for this kind of thing, they have succeeded. This is maybe not a flawless victory, but a recommend.
Clearly not a flawless victory. There are a lot of hits taken, but a win is a win no matter how close that match comes. And here's the thing for me is fighting games are silly. Scantily clad women, impossibly muscular men shooting fireballs and using weapons in a fighting tournament. Johnny Cage is right when that seems like it's cheating. And the more seriously you take that concept, like the last movie did, the more it's going to punch you in the nuts. And these games aren't supposed to be serious unless you're serious about learning the fatalities to use against your friends. But these games are meant to be over-the-top fun, with Kano pulling people's beating hearts out of their chest and Scorpion yelling, "Get over here," before punching the shit out of someone. And that's why, to me, Mortal Kombat 1995 is still the best Mortal Kombat film, because it indulges in the fun concepts of Mortal Kombat with Christopher Lambert looking at the audience with a knowing wink. And that's why I think the upcoming Street Fighter movie looks really fun. It is not taking itself seriously at all. It's embracing the insanity of a green electric monster fighting a guy with a 2-foot flat top. And this film, it kind of straddles the line like Johnny Cage in a full split. In the last film, everyone was so damn serious except for Kano, the best part of that dull movie. Here, they've doubled the sarcasm and doubled the fun by bringing in foul-mouthed outsider Johnny Cage. And no, he's not as much fun as Kano, as shown when Kano still steals every goddamn scene he's in. But Cage gives this movie a spark of fun it also desperately needed. And then the fact that the movie embraces the game format. There's actually a tournament, forced matches, fatalities, finish him is shouted. And like I said throughout this review, the fights are really well shot and well staged, well choreographed. Between the sparing use of slow-mo to sell some of the moments, like Baraka shooting the bone spears, to the spinning camera as fighters circle each other, I enjoy the action, and there's a lot of it. Anytime the movie borders on getting too talky, two people are teleported away for another fight. Would I rather watch Keanu Reeves murdering 1,000 fucking dudes with a pencil? Yeah, absolutely. But is this a recommend? Johnny Cage wins. Green Arrow. And as I sat through the credits for an end credits scene that wasn't there, they played the techno music again, which gave me a real nostalgic cherry on top to a fun fight Sunday. They had the original voice from that song and that game saying all the characters' names, making me wonder, would they say Cole? And they did say Cole. He did get a shout out in the song for this one. So the best thing a video game movie can do, this did. I walked out, that techno music in my mind, wanting to play Mortal Kombat again. My wife is leaving town for work this week. I just picked up the newest Mortal Kombat collection for my Switch. I know what I'm doing when I'm not watching the birds for now playing. I'm going to be playing Mortal Kombat!
Is Cole in the new game? Did they actually turn him into a video game character is my curiosity.
Absolutely not.
They're not touching it. They know what a loser is. We all agree. The universe agrees. Scrappy-Doo is Scrappy-Doo. You just let it go.
And I don't think we're going to have to wait 5 years for Mortal Kombat 3. It's already been greenlit as announced at New York Comic-Con last year. Jeremy Slater is returning as the screenwriter of this one, coming back. And the producer of the franchise has hinted at spin-offs and other stuff to expand the Mortal Kombat universe.
Yeah, I mean, you see the ambition, how much appetite for that, how much they'll actually be funded to do, I think remains a curiosity. We'll see how well this movie ultimately performs. I think its success is beyond what it does in theaters, streaming and all of that. Yes, there'll be another movie. I'm not sure there'll be 5 other movies.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like we said earlier, our age group is the core demographic for Mortal Kombat. We grew up with it, but I think the other demographic it needs to hit is younger gamers that aren't able to go to the theater to see this. They've got to wait for streaming because it's rated R.
And they don't have a Wolverine. I mean, I haven't found a character that's like, this is the one that's got to be in all the movies because I love him so much.
I agree. Karl Urban, I like Karl Urban so much. And again, especially in The Boys. If he wasn't coming back for Mortal Kombat 3, that would hurt, but it wouldn't be a fatality.
Agreed. Yeah, that gives room for somebody else to chew the scenery. I don't think it's his franchise. I don't think he owns it the way Hugh Jackman had X-Men and continues to. But anyway, we're done with video games for a little bit. As you say, Mando and Grogu are the big thrust for theaters right now. We've got one more season of the show, season 3, next week before we cover that big movie.
I wonder how big it's going to be. I've read trades and like Forbes saying, can Starfighter, next year's Star Wars movie, save Star Wars? Can a TV show on the big screen make Star Wars movie money? But going to that Cinemark this week, it feels like they are preparing for the next coming of The Force Awakens. So I'm very curious. And I'm going back to that Cinemark to see it in IMAX. And again, it looks sold out, but so did Mortal Kombat. Will people actually show up?
Right, yes. All the bots are buying seats, but who will actually be there?
We're just in a different age of marketing. Like in previous years, a Star Wars movie coming out was almost a year-long marketing march to let people know. I think we're just in an era now where it's like 2-3 weeks beforehand, we're going to start putting people on the talk shows and start running more commercials and stuff, trying to hit that general audience. So we'll see. Like, I feel like up until now, that movie has been kind of quietly coming, but as we get closer, it's getting more and more press.
The Force is definitely awakening. I'm seeing the Burger King ads. I've even had the Mando meal. So I think that a lot of people didn't know that the show was still around and that they had made a movie. I've had a lot of people say, oh, did you know? Yeah. But people are waking up to it. And I think it'll be bigger than it looked a month ago.
Well, we'll find out. We're reviewing season 3 next Tuesday, and then the movie the week after that. Meanwhile, if you want a fight as good as Scorpion versus Sub-Zero, last Friday we had Anaconda versus Lake Placid, and then this Friday we're finishing off the Lake Placid series with Legacy, which is actually the name of a Mortal Kombat animated film, or maybe live action series, but Mortal Kombat Legacy is a thing.
Yeah, it's a Legacy sequel and they do different things in it. It is not as comedic as some of these Crocodile movies have been, but it's the end of Gold Level. So thanks for joining us. If you've been a Gold Level participant, here is your reward this Friday before we get to some birds.
Yes, I'm looking forward to talking Hitchcock for our Platinum donors. And again, if you want to hear all the Lake Placid and Anaconda reviews, be a Gold Level donor, $25 or more on Patreon, Podbean, or directly to us with a one-time PayPal payment. And Platinum Level gets the birds and to hear us roar like Katy Perry with that finale.
I don't think you'll be thinking about Katy Perry's Roar when you actually hear the soundtrack of Roar. It's pretty awesome. It's better than hers.
Well, we're going from my teenage dream of Mortal Kombat to Hitchcock, so quite a jump. So thank you for listening to Now Playing. Justin, Stuart, thank you for fighting with me on the first Mortal Kombat movie to get the Now Playing approved banner of 3 recommends. And until the next video game movie that I'm sure won't make that level, game over.
ends now!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Now Playing Podcast.
Finish him!
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
You've all made me very proud. I will be watching you, so stay out of trouble.
Come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com each week for another new movie review podcast.
Just another starstruck fan, huh?
And in the NowPlayingPodcast.com archives, you can find reviews of other video game movies, including Resident Evil, The Wizard, Doom, Final Fantasy, Prince of Persia, Super Mario Bros., The King of Kong, Tomb Raider, Street Fighter, Double Dragon, Rampage, and more.
And if you'd like a tour, I'd love to give it to you myself.
Also at our site, you can find hundreds of other movie reviews, including Star Wars, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Independence Day, the Avengers films, Back to the Future, Batman, Superman, The Fast and the Furious, and more.
Oh, nah, I done seen everything.
Do you want to continue? Insert money now to keep playing Now Playing.
Do not underestimate the power of the human spirit.
Now Playing Podcast is a show without any sponsors or ads. We rely on support from listeners like you to keep Now Playing operating.
You're still running away from your destiny.
You can donate to the show and, as our thank you, receive bonus podcasts. Over 150 bonus movie reviews are available to choose from, including Alien, Night of the Living Dead, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, Psycho, Troll, and more.
Every mortal is responsible for his own destiny.
Find a full list of available bonus shows at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate.
At last, one of them is understood.
You can also join the Now Playing Patron campaign. Patrons of $10 or more get a new exclusive movie review every month. Plus, even more perks, including one where you can pick a movie for our hosts to review. Find the details on our website.
Come here!
If you enjoy Now Playing, please head to iTunes and leave us a 5-star listing. It's the best way to help spread the word about the podcast.
I've got to tell you something. You guys did great.
You can follow Now Playing on Facebook and Twitter, where we post announcements of new episodes and where the hosts post movie mini reviews. Links to our social media pages are available on our homepage.
Get over here!
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
Wise cultivate his favor. Those who challenge his power become his slaves.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
Are you kidding me? You don't have any powers? Just incredibly handsome.
Executive produced by Jeff Gannon, Tony Lanzalotta, Garrett Collins, Brent, Morgan Beck, Chris Harris, Tom Ward, Julian Lewis, and Andrew Doran.
Let's fucking go!
Now Playing's video game retrospective series is edited by Arnie.
Piece of cake. Piece of cake, huh?
Oh, it was easy for me.
Oh, get over yourself.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
You talk so much.
The opinions expressed on Now Playing are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the opinion of Venganza Media Incorporated.
I say the only ones we can trust from here on out are humans. Nobody else. Not even Ray.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with the motion pictures reviewed or otherwise referred to herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review and no infringement is intended.
It wasn't enough you filled my head with that nonsense. How can you, a wise man, believe this?
We all believe in it, including your brother.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of Venganza Media Incorporated and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved. Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2026. All rights reserved. And no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Flawless victory.
You guys talk a lot about Karl Urban. I was trying to tell somebody who he was. I'm like, he was Spock. I think he was in the Lord of the Rings. I couldn't really name anything else.
He was McCoy.
Yeah.
Oh, not Spock. Yes, that's what I meant.
Who's Jake? I have Jake in my notes.
Jade.
I was trying to think who I'm missing.
Jake from State Farm, Arnie.
I keep wanting to call it Eternia, but that's a movie in a couple weeks. Adenia, whatever this place is.